Hello, and welcome to the Powerknight hybrid Dragonknight build. This build is primarily Magicka based. Magicka Dragonknight is in an excellent spot right now. It has been for the past few patches. But we're mixing in a few elements that you would normally see on a stamina based character. Um, so let's get into this. So for our race, we are using Khajiit. This is not the ideal race, actually. You'd probably want to use something like a Dunmer, Dark Elf, or Orc Imperial. Anything, anything that offers weapon damage is really ideal for this. I like Khajiit. They give good recovery. They've got kind of good tri-stat focus. They are very good as far as hybrid specs go, which is what we're going for here. For our attributes, we're using 40 in Magicka, 24 in health. So that's going to put us over 33,000 hit points, fully buffed, 21,000 Magicka, and just shy of 17,000 stamina. Those numbers aren't particularly impressive on the Magicka and stamina, but with the recovery that Dragonknight has with this patch, it's hardly a problem. And as far as the health goes, getting up over 30k is 30k is kind of my baseline for any build. Anything less than that, and you're open for ganks, almost guaranteed. But the more that you stack with the Dragonknight, the stronger your heals will be. For our food, we are using Jewels of Misrule. You can also use Orzagas. That would also work well. Basically, you want the max health and you want that little bit of extra recovery because we're not running any sort of recovery sets. And for the Mundus, we're using the Lover because we're using medium armor. We do not have a large amount of penetration. This helps to remedy that. I have Lycanthropy on here. You can run Vampirism if you'd like. It is additional mitigation. I personally don't like the extra cost to my abilities. Werewolf has nothing to do with this build. So, on to the gear. On the front bar, we are using the Burning Spellweave. This is an excellent Dragonknight set. It is super easy for a Dragonknight to proc. It gives excellent stats, max Magicka, weapon and spell damage, critical chance, and then it has the extra 5-piece bonus here. When you deal damage with a flame damage ability, you apply the burning status effect to the enemy and increase your weapon and spell damage by 484, at least on the level that I have it upgraded, for 8 seconds. And these effects can occur once every 12 seconds. So this is a guaranteed burning every 12 seconds, essentially, with a Dragonknight, which is Magicka back, as well as damage done. And that weapon and spell damage is some of the highest that you can get from a single set in the game. There's at least one. Clever Alchemist gives more, but it doesn't have the uptime that Burning Spellweave does. For our back bar, we are using a Restoration Staff of the Powerful Assault with a weapon damage glyph. This set uses or gives really good stats for us as far as our survivability and damage goes. It's additional stamina, it's additional health, it's additional weapon and spell damage, and it has the bonus of casting an assault ability in combat. You end up to 5 group members within 10 meters, gain I think it's 300 at gold. I think I still have a few pieces that are purple here. But you gain weapon and spell damage for 10 seconds. So just using your normal vigor on your back bar will proc this. 10 seconds is a pretty good uptime. Really easy to keep up. And you're also helping out your group if you are grouped. We are using powered on the restoration staff for the extra healing. And on our 2 front bar weapons, we're using swords for the extra weapon damage. with Nirn Honed on the main hand and Charged on the offhand. Charged having been buffed, I think it was in update 32, I could be wrong on that, but Charged is required for our sustain. It increases your chances of applying status effects, which you're going to get magicka and stamina back for burning and poisoned, rocking off of that. You can use maces if you'd like the extra penetration. I personally like the extra weapon damage because it also improves my heals. We still hit plenty hard, even without that penetration. So for our monster set, we were using Magma Incarnate. In heavy, these traits are not what I would normally use. I would normally use Well Fitted on these. Haven't bothered to spend the transmutes on it, but leave the maximum health and chance on them. They're good to go. Magma Incarnate gives you some extra recovery and then has an excellent 2-piece bonus. This set is honestly the meta for almost everybody, every build in the game at this point. So when you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal ability, you grant the lowest health group member within 20 meters Minor Courage and Minor Resolve, which gives you 215 weapon and spell damage and just shy of 3,000 armor for 10 seconds. And then that will bounce to up to 3 more people, giving them the same buffs as well. So if you're in a group, along with the Powerful Assault, you're going to be proccing this pretty consistently, and you're going to be buffing up yourself and the group. Just off a single Vigor, you're going to be sitting, another 500 something weapon damage higher just from hitting a Vigor. On our chest, we are using a Heavy Trainee. It's Gallant Chain is what I'm using. It's really easy to get off quest in the Daggerfall Covenant starting area. Just do the main quest. As soon as you get to Betnik, there you go. You get a green version of this. It comes in Reinforced, which is what you want. Reinforced on the chest is going to give us the maximum amount of armor. And it's one of the only sets it's the only set in the game that gives it 1-piece bonus, at least as of right now, which will give us an additional 1,454 health. So improves our survivability significantly and fills in that blank spot that we have from running a front bar, back bar build. On our waist, we're using a Burning Spellweave Sash. That is also well fitted. It is enchanted with maximum health because health equals healing with the Dragonknight. And well fitted because we are running medium armor and we are going to be a roly-poly and we're sprinting all over the place. For the legs, gloves, and feet, we're using Powerful Assault. Powerful Assault is a medium set, which is going to buff our weapon damage as well as increase our run speed while we're sprinting. And each one of these is going to be well fitted for the cost reduction to roll, dodge, and sprint. Our legs are going to have the Tri-Stat enchant, and the other 2 are going to be enchanted with stamina, because we want that to enable us to move around easily, stay mobile on the battlefield. Our jewelry is going to be the Burning Spellweave pieces for the neck and the ring. For the other ring, we're using the Markin Ring of Majesty. Honestly, this is one of the best mythics they've come out with in a long time. It's all upside, no downside. You gain 100 weapon and spell damage and 1,157 armor for every set you're wearing at least 3 or more pieces of. So with our back bar setup, we've got 3 pieces of 2 different sets at all times, which is going to give us an extra 200 weapon and spell damage and 2,314 armor. It's just good. Each one of these is going to be infused with the weapon damage enchant to maximize our smack ability. So, moving on to skills. Dragonknight has a lot of good skills. It's really tough to it's really tough to decide what to put on these bars. It's a lot of really powerful abilities. So um, we are going to be using on our front bar Molten Whip. Molten Whip is going to hit relatively hard unbuffed, but as you use um, Ardent Flame abilities, you're going to gain stacks of Seething Fury while you're on this bar. And each one of those stacks is going to increase the damage of your next Molten Whip by 33% and give you additional weapon and spell damage. So 75, that's what, 225 extra weapon and spell damage at 3 stacks. So even if you're not setting off your whip, you're still going to be buffing all of your abilities just by having this on your bar. This is also going to set things off balance, which can be useful for resource restoral and sustain. Since off-balanced enemies are going to take extra damage from heavy attacks, you can also use it as a CC. If you manage to whip something that's immobilized, that next heavy attack will stun them. We are using Noxious Breath, so this is the Stamina Morph. This is going to do a decent amount of upfront damage. It's going to hit everything in a cone in front of you. And it's going to put a dot on everything that it hits. The dot is a strong dot. It's gonna, it's with the weapon damage that we're at right now unbuffed, we're sitting at 12,362 over 14 seconds. But that's not the main reason that we have this. What we're really looking for is the Major Breach. So Major Breach is going to make up for some of that missing penetration that we have for not running maces or light armor. So that's going to reduce the physical and spell resistance of our targets by just shy of 6,000. And if I remember right, that's somewhere between 8 and 10% less damage less damage reduction for them. This is also going to potentially apply the poison status effect, which is going to give us stamina back. We have a pseudo spammable of Flames of Oblivion. This one is kind of a set and forget sort of ability. You can cast it. If you don't cast anything else, it's going to go off 3 more times. So it's going to launch 3 fireballs every 5 seconds. They're going to do flame damage. This is a perfect way to set off your Burning Spellweave. And if you're just trying to build up stacks of Seething Fury for your Molten Whips. Also, while it's slotted, you gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, which is going to increase your spell and weapon critical ratings a decent bit. For our next ability, we're using Burning Embers. Now the reason that we're using this over the Stamina Morph is because this actually got a bit of a buff on the last patch. I think they reduced the damage slightly, but it made it so that the heals every time that it deals damage. So instead of getting a big heal at the end like it used to be, every time this ticks, you're going to get 102% of that damage back as healing. This also hits enemies with a burning status effect. So casting this actually is only about 2,000 magicka. So it's 2,910 with the Dragonknight passive. We're going to be casting this essentially for 1,910 because it's going to give us back 1,000 magicka every time that we use this. And then on our 5th slot, we're using Burning Talons. This is a very potent ability. It is a bit costly at 4,000, just shy of 4,000 magicka. But this will immobilize the enemies near you. It's got a 6-meter range. It's not huge, but you can hit a significant number of people with this. And you're going to do an extra 7,000 flame damage over 4 seconds. This is just with my base stats. I can nearly more than double my spell damage, or weapon damage, fully buffed, which is going to be a significant uptick in the amount of damage that this does. It's almost like a burst dot. You want to hit this and keep this running on people. It's going to chew through their health bars, as well as just cause them to eat up more of their resources and having to roll dodge out of it. You can also use this on enemies that have been stunned recently. It uses a completely different immunity than your normal crowd control immunities. So you can leap, immediately hit them with this, so they're forced to both break the stun and roll out. But this also has the extra benefit of the ignite synergy. So if you're running with a group, your group mates can hit this and immediately deal a significant amount of flame damage to all the enemies that are held by the talons. For our ultimate on the front bar, we're using Ferocious Leap. This is the flame damage variation. It is going to deal flame damage, it is going to knock them back, it is going to stun them for 2 seconds. This cannot be roll dodged. I've so many times I've attempted to roll dodge this just out of habit, and it has not ended well. But after this is also going to give you a shield for a significant amount of damage absorption. It's 34,000 before Battle Spirit, so you'd be looking with the unbuffed stats here somewhere around 16 or 17,000 damage shield, which is it can really save you. Using this is going to give you back health. It's going to give you that damage shield. It can be used defensively. It can be used offensively. It's an excellent ability. Hopefully soon Zos will fix this ability for Imperial City. If you do find yourself in Imperial City, you might consider running Dawnbreaker of Smiting instead. On our back bar, we're using Igneous Weapons. So this is going to give us Major Brutality and Sorcery, as well as anybody in our group. This will also proc the Earthen Heart passive that gives Minor Brutality. And this is the reason that we're using weapon damage on a Magicka build, because Dragonknights get additional weapon damage through the Minor Brutality passive. So using this, give you 54 seconds of Major Brutality, and I think it's 20 seconds. I can check that. That is... yeah, 20 seconds of Minor Brutality. You're also going to get 3 ultimate off of using that, which is good for your continuing to leap. We are using the Volatile Armor morph of Spiked Armor. This is going to give us Major Resolve, which will give us an extra 6k or so physical and spell resistance. And this is also going to place a dot on any enemies that are nearby. So it's not a huge dot, it's not a massive amount of damage, but it's just something more to kind of burn through enemies' health bars. Also, while it's active, you're going to return damage, magic damage, to anything that hits you with a direct damage attack. So those Templars that are jabbing away, they're going to get hit for magic damage every time they hit you. Now, this ability does scale up for physical and spell resistance, so whenever you cast this, is actually the damage is going to go up. It's not going to be a huge, significant amount of damage, but it is something, and it is still a strong ability. We're also using Rapid Regeneration. This is a Restoration Staff ability. The single target morph of Regeneration, it's going to tick faster and heal for more. So instead of hitting 3 different targets like the other one does, this one's going to heal for 1 target over 5 seconds. So it's going to heal 1 target faster for a significant amount of health. This actually, I believe, has a higher tooltip than Vigor. 19,000 unbuffed, that's well over 20,000 when we're buffed. We're using Coagulating Blood as our burst heal. This is going to heal us for a base amount that's based on our weapon damage. And then it's going to increase the amount of healing that it does based on the missing health. And this is why we're running greater than 30,000 hit points, because the more health that we have, the larger a gap we can have between our current health and our max health, and the stronger that this is going to heal. This also gives Major Fortitude, which is an extra 30% health recovery. It's not... since Zos nerfed health recovery in PvP, it's not a great addition, but it's something. We're also going to take additional healing while this is active, because of the Draconic Power passive. So we'll get an extra 12% healing just for having this active. And finally, we're going to be using Resolving Vigor. This is something we're going to want to use approximately every 10 seconds or so. So you want to switch to your back bar, you'll hit this. That'll proc your Powerful Assault. That will heal you up for a significant amount. And it will also proc your Magma Incarnate. So just hitting this ability, it gives you health back, procs up an extra 500 something damage, weapon damage. And for our defensive ult, which we can also use offensively, is Corrosive Armor. This ability will actually screw people up pretty bad. It limits your incoming damage to 3% of your max health. It deals poison damage to nearby enemies each second for 12 seconds. And while it's active, the dot that it applies, and all of your direct damage ignore enemies' physical and spell resistance. So if you're hitting somebody for 4k whips, 5k whips, suddenly you're hitting them for 9 and 10k. It's pretty nasty. This is something to definitely keep in your pocket if you're running into a particularly tanky enemy that's not taking much damage from your leaps. Pop this, I guarantee you're going to burn through their health bar like nothing else. If anything, it's going to put them on the defensive, and it's going to give you a good chance to stabilize if you're in a tough spot. Very strong. Now for our champion points. In the blue tree, we're using Ironclad. This is the only defensive one that we're using. You can switch this out for, or you can use additional defensive CP slottables if you'd like. I personally feel like the survivability of the Dragonknight is significant enough as it is. But this is going to reduce the damage we take from direct damage attacks by 10%, with 50 points in the slottable. We're also using Thaumaturge, which increases the damage done with damage over time effects by 2% per stage. We are a Dragonknight, we are a dot class. This is going to be almost a no-brainer. It's going to make all of those dots that we're applying just tick for that much more. We're also using Deadly Aim. This is going to increase the damage done with single target attacks by 2% per stage. All of our dots count as single target. They may be applied multi-target, but once they're actually on the player, they're going to do single target damage. So this is going to be an additional 10% on top of that. And then I'm also using Master at Arms, which is going to increase the damage done with direct damage attacks by 2% per stage. So this is not going to improve our dots, but what this is going to improve is our whips. Same for Deadly Aim. This is also going to improve our whips. So basically all of our damage is getting a 20% buff, which is good stuff. In the red tree, we're using Celerity. So Celerity is just for movement on the battlefield. It's an extra 10% at all times. This one you could flex out if you feel like you don't need the extra mobility, or if you decide to swap out an ability for something like that gives major expedition or minor expedition. But I personally use this on all of my builds. It just makes everything that much easier. We're also using Pain's Refuge. So this one here, you actually want negative effects on yourself, and as a Dragonknight, you're not able to purge things on your own anyway, at least not without a Templar in the group to drop a purge on the ground for you. So every 2 negative effects will reduce the damage that you take by 2%. So 20 negative effects, which is really easy to hit, that's going to be a 20% damage reduction. We're also going to be using Sustained by Suffering. So this is going to give us Magicka, stamina, and health recovery whenever we're under the effect of a negative effect, which is, as I said, all the time. It's pretty common. And then we're also using Slippery. This is one of my go-to for every build. Slippery automatically breaks you free at no cost. Once every 21 seconds. Ganks, it will immediately break you free, so you're not going to be eating that big calorian as long as you dodge right away. It takes some of the work out and saves you a lot of resources from breaking free. One thing... Oh, I just... took that out. One thing you want to keep in mind... We do not want more than 10 points in Mystic Tenacity. We need to put some points in this in order to get to Pain's Refuge, but we do not want more than 10 points in here because we want to keep the status effects on us. Elemental status effects aren't going to do a whole lot of damage to us, but they are going to reduce our overall damage that we're taking just by being on us. So no more than 10 in that. I guess we also need that to get to the Sustained by Suffering perk. As for the green tree, there's nothing in here that directly affects us. I personally like War Mount just because it removes stamina costs from our mount. Treasure Hunter is kind of useless for the most part. Steed's Blessing. This is nice for out of combat movement. Gives you that extra 20%. Just helps you to get around a little easier. Get to the fight if you're not currently in the fight. And Rationer just to increase the duration of food and drink that you use. Kind of save you some gold. Don't have to bother with the upkeep quite as much. So anyway, that is the build. It's a great build. It's a lot of fun. You know, I've absolutely smacked some people down with this. I hope you enjoy it.